His offensive compatibility becomes incredibly good. He's compatible with every kind of teammate. Tall, short, heavy, thin. Players who can shoot, players who can't, players who can attack the rim, players who can't, players who play half-court sets well or don't, players who thrive in transition or don't, players who need the ball or don't. None of it matters. Wemby is just too unique. As the tallest player on the floor, he can play on the ball, he can run off the ball, he can run in transition, he can go one-on-one or run set plays, he has otherworldly rim attacking ability, and he also has perimeter shooting ability. He can finish from anywhere on the court. It's precisely because of his individual scoring and finishing ability combined with unmatched compatibility that Wemby becomes great, unique, extraordinary, and hugely impactful on the offensive end. And on defense, Wembanyama is even more of an era-defining, dominant player. In both the 2025-26 regular season and playoffs, he was the league leader in blocks per game. In 22 playoff games, he racked up 78 blocks, the third highest single postseason total in NBA history, trailing only Hakeem Olajuwon and Tim Duncan. His blocks are never reckless or risky. Many of them are live ball blocks, where he actually retains possession after swatting the shot. He also led the league last season in steals per 100 possessions, combined with drawn offensive fouls and recovered possession blocks combined. He's unquestionably the league's rim protection kingpin by a wide margin, and this isn't just reflected in the block numbers, it's reflected in the sheer intimidation factor. Opponents visibly hesitate driving into the paint once they see Wemby there. His rim protection isn't limited to within 20 feet of the basket either. After removing garbage time from last season's regular season, opponents shot 9% less within 14 feet of the basket when Wemby was on the floor. That's an insane number. He's able to protect the rim without fouling excessively, while also helping the team's overall foul rate on the backline stay low. His block numbers are outstanding, and last season, when he was off the floor, opponents scored 12. 3 more points per 100 possessions. His defensive on-off differential was plus 12.3. His defensive EPM value was plus 4.4. His defensive impact was the clear number 1 in the league by a wide margin, and he was able to produce defensive impact alone that matches the level of another player's elite offensive impact, a 50-50 split of offensive and defensive impact. Only Wemby can say that about himself, because as a player who could realistically challenge for the title of greatest defender in NBA history, he lived up to that on the floor every single game. Combining offensive and defensive impact, last season Wemby had already essentially claimed the number 1 spot in the league. Throughout the entire 2025-26 season, multiple impact metrics had him ranked at the very top of the league. Among players who logged over 1,000 regular season minutes when Wemby was on the floor versus off it, the Spurs outscored opponents by 15.2 more points per 100 possessions. That on-off impact number was the best in the league. His RAPM was number 1 in the league, his raw plus-minus was second in the league, and another metric of his was also number 1. In the playoffs, Wembanyama's EPM value was even more dominant at number 1, and his cumulative win contribution value from EPM was also the outright number 1 on the leaderboard. They lost the finals to the Knicks. And a lot of people criticized Wemby's performance, but what many people don't want to admit is this. It's precisely because Wemby was so dominant that he carried this Spurs team to a level they otherwise didn't belong at. Combining regular season and playoff performance and overall impact, Wembanyama was last season's number 1 player overall. At just 22 years old, he put up the best regular season MVP caliber performance in the league, and his playoff impact was the outright number 1 in the league by a wide margin. He made both All-NBA and All-Defensive First Team in the regular season and finished 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Having just turned 22, he single-handedly carried his team to the finals in the playoffs. So given his level of play and his age, it truly wouldn't be an exaggeration for him to earn $100 million a year. And yet Wemby was willing to walk away from that, directly signing a below-market extension, only taking a 25% cap max deal. Everyone says Wemby showed noble character, that Wemby read the situation wisely, that Wemby sacrificed his own interests for the greater good of the Spurs. These are all praiseworthy points, of course, since past Spurs leaders have also had players like this who understood the bigger picture. Over his career, Tim Duncan took a cumulative pay cut of roughly $50 million, and that was $50 million back then, mind you. Manu Ginóbili also took 4 separate voluntary pay cuts over his career, giving up roughly $30 million total. Tony Parker also took 3 voluntary pay cuts over his career, giving up roughly $30 million as well. Selfless sacrifice and big picture thinking, that was the key to how the GDP trio built 2 decades of Spurs dynasty glory. So Wemby signing a below-market extension at age 22, this is a continuation of the Spurs' values, an embrace of the Spurs' tradition and culture. In today's league, a team can't contend for a championship without contract value surplus somewhere on the roster. The key to the Knicks' championship contending window was Jalen Brunson only earning about $30-some million a year. The reason the Thunder could win the championship last year was also because of the rookie-scale contract surplus from SGA and Chet Holmgren. In 2024, the Celtics could assemble a loaded roster because Tatum and Brown's combined salary only took up 47% of the team's cap at the time. That was key to the Celtics winning the championship. Once Tatum and Brown signed new contracts and their combined salary took up 70% of the team's total payroll, that team suddenly became far less competitive. Earlier, the Golden State Warriors dynasty also benefited from Curry's rookie-scale contract surplus. Sometimes, whether a team can win a championship really isn't something the head coach, general manager, or players alone can decide. It's determined by your salary structure and allocation. This time, Wemby only taking a 25% cap max extension means he's giving up about $10 million a year. What does $10 million actually mean? With $10 million, you could sign a playoff caliber, do everything role player. Giving up $10 million lets the team keep its total payroll better positioned below the first luxury tax apron, meaning the team could likely secure a very good $15 million full mid-level exception to reinforce the roster next season. If they didn't have that full mid-level exception available, there's no way the Spurs could have signed Tobias Harris this summer. Look how valuable having a Toha is. He can play the 3, he can play the 4, he can shoot, he can go one-on-one, he can solve problems from mid-range, and he can even defend opposing centers like Towns. If Wemby hadn't been so considerate, next summer the Spurs likely wouldn't have gotten another chance at a full mid-level exception to reinforce the roster. For a championship contending team, besides trades, isn't the mid-level exception the biggest opportunity for reinforcement? Giving up that $10 million also makes it more feasible for the team to simultaneously retain Castle and Harper. A lot of people think $10 million isn't a big deal, but you need to understand, over the past 30 years, the Spurs as a franchise have paid a cumulative total of only about $17.5 million in luxury tax. Everyone's seen what that $10 million can do. That extra $10 million could easily become the straw that breaks the camel's back. Don't believe me? Just ask the Thunder. Ask Durant and Harden about it. Back in the 2011-12 season, Durant triggered the Rose Rule and signed a contract taking up 30% of the cap, right? That indirectly led to Harden later being unable to stay with the Thunder. The Spurs and Wemby certainly don't want to repeat that same mistake. Looking at things now, Harper and Castle both still have unlimited potential. Their respective ceilings and talent levels are absolutely elite. As long as the Wemby-Castle-Harper trio stays together, that's essentially the Spurs' current-era version of the GDP trio. It could secure the Spurs as a championship contending organization for the next decade. Wemby's pay cut this time is a case of planning ahead. He's proactively locking down the Spurs' core championship contending structure for the future. Lastly, as we said earlier, Wemby is genuinely a priceless treasure. He's basically the King Tutankhamun death mask of the NBA player world. He might actually be worth $100 million, but in the end, he's only taking home $40-50 million a year. The Spurs now have the biggest contract surplus in the entire NBA. On the basketball court, Wemby is compatible with everything on both offense and defense. Off the court, his rookie-scale contract is also compatible with everything. It can even offset some of the negative impact of Fox's bad contract. So he's currently the most compatible player in the entire NBA in every sense. And the Spurs still have plenty of other contract surpluses right now too. Take Stephon Castle's recently signed extension, for example, which is also a bargain price. Take Harper, Castle, Carter, and Barlow, they're all still within their rookie contract windows. Take the interior rookie they drafted today, Terrace Reed, who I'm personally very high on. And then there's Tobias Harris, signed with the full mid-level exception for around $15 million. I think that's also an extremely good value signing. So even though Fox's contract is genuinely bad, Wembanyama and his teammates have still let the entire Spurs roster benefit from plenty of contract surplus. The Spurs, next season and the season after, will still be an absolute top-tier team in the league. Lastly, I want to say Wemby himself is just an incredible person. I'd bet that even if Wemby weren't on a franchise with such a fine tradition like the Spurs, even if he were on a different team, he'd still take a pay cut. Because he loves basketball too much, he wants to win too badly genuinely. Badly, at such a young age, he already carries himself with leadership presence. He understands how to sacrifice himself for the bigger picture. He's not afraid to voice his desires and demands publicly in the media. He practically wears his ambition on his face. And his standards for himself and his control over the locker room increasingly resemble a Jordan or Kobe-style tyrant. His body language on the court tells the world one thing: winning is everything to him. I love players like this. I love this kind of personality. I love that winning comes first mentality. That's what a strong culture looks like. A strong culture is what forges strong players, while a weak culture only makes you weaker and weaker over time. And I'll say one more thing: this pay cut is absolutely not going to be the last one of Wemby's career. Just wait and see. Lastly, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.